undisclosed private jet trips gifted to Thomas by Republican mega donor Harlan Crow. Now, the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, aka CREW, has filed a new complaint to the Attorney General and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, seeking to have Justice Thomas properly investigated. Joining me now is Donald Sherman, Executive Director and Chief Counsel for CREW. Thank you so much, Mr. Sherman, for being here. We kind of all know now what's happened. Justice Thomas, you guys have called for him to be investigated for accepting all these lavish gifts. We know that there have been even more gifts we found. We can put up an exhaustive list of their scandals, accepting gifts. Tell me what you think can be done now. What kind of investigation are you looking for?
Thanks for having me on. I think what needs to happen now is we've only gotten certain information in trickles because the Senate Judiciary Committee finally decided to do some investigating and really put some pressure on Harlan Crow to provide information about just how many gifts he and his companies have paid for and have given to Clarence Thomas. We need a thorough investigation because, not just because the Supreme Court, including Chief Justice Roberts, have continued to flout congressional oversight, but because the Department of Justice has different tools, stronger tools to investigate not just Harlan Crow, Justice Thomas's other benefactors, but also to request and get information from Justice Thomas as well. We are tired of getting this information in fits and starts, in trickles. We finally need to get to the bottom of just how many gifts Justice Thomas has received from his so-called friend who he made after he became a Supreme Court justice, and whether his failure to disclose that information was a crime.
But we know that Clarence Thomas participated in these Koch network donor events, and the Koch network is also a party to things that have come up with the Supreme Court. They were quite happy that the Chevron doctrine, for instance, was overturned. You've seen the Supreme Court essentially legalize bribery of the exact type that Alito and Thomas are shown to have received. Could the Justice Department subpoena Clarence Thomas? Is that possible, or would the Supreme Court just overrule that subpoena, do you think?
It certainly is possible. Again, the Department of Justice has broad investigative power. And I think the reason why the Department of Justice needs to subpoena Justice Thomas is because if Justice Thomas, or if this subpoena goes through the courts, if an investigation like this goes through the courts, and then Justice Thomas or other justices sit and hear that case and provide the same kind of immunity that this court has provided to Donald Trump, I think it will display for the public just how much this justice and this court thinks that it's above the law. And they may lose in court, but you have to take that legal fight to the court, because their behavior, Justice Thomas's behavior, and Chief Justice Roberts' continued acquiescence to Justice Thomas is beyond the pale.
Would you support a grand jury, a criminal investigation of Justice Thomas and Justice Alito?
Well, our complaint has asked for the FBI and the Department of Justice to conduct a criminal investigation. Certainly, I wouldn't prejudge what they find during the course of that investigation. But if there is an intention to hide information that has to be disclosed by law, then certainly there are crimes that should be charged.
At minimum, Clarence Thomas, whether or not he is a criminal, is a kept man. I think we can all agree on that. Donald Sherman, thank you, and please keep us updated on your call for an investigation. Thank you so much. And coming up, there has been a lot going on.